So is anyone going to talk about this right here? This is Erika with Yair Netanyahu, Bibi Netanyahu's son. And now suddenly she's on Fox News speaking Hebrew, telling Candace Owens to stop. Stop what exactly? Asking questions? Covering the story, exposing inconsistencies?
It's those little things where, again, he would walk through the door, drop his bags, daddy's home, take his phone, Friday night, Shabbat Shalom, throw it in the trunk.
Hate is hate. It's evil. Charlie and I have always been very clear on our stance. Israel and Jewish people.
Candace Owens just stepped in with what might be her boldest claim yet. And this one didn't just put Erika Kirk under pressure. It suddenly pulled Yair Netanyahu into the spotlight too. And nobody saw that twist coming. According to Candace, there's talk of supposed evidence circulating that suggests Erika may have been expecting a child connected to Yair Netanyahu. And it doesn't stop there, because what she's hinting about what may have happened after that is what really has people raising eyebrows fast. Candace isn't known for stepping into claims like this lightly, and that's exactly why this is hitting so hard right now. Now people are looking back and noticing that Erika and Yair were actually moving in the same circles long before her relationship with Charlie even started. And suddenly those older clips and moments feel completely different. Everyone is asking the same questions. Was this situation real? Why hasn't it been openly discussed until now? And what else from that time hasn't been brought forward? Right after Candace made that claim, the internet went into full detective mode. And that's when one specific photo started making rounds again. This wasn't just some random throwback people had already debated. This one stood out in a whole new way. In the image, Erika is standing right next to Yair Netanyahu, with Tyler Bauer also there. And the second people noticed all three together. The conversation shifted instantly. The post was dated June 13th, 2019.
Disturbingly, with what Candace Owens said, that Charlie told someone right before he died, "I think I'm going to be killed." What's even stranger is Erika's claim that Charlie, a man known for saying that women should stay at home and raise the family, allegedly responded Erika would do a great job running it.
Which lines up closely with the period when Erika was getting closer to Charlie Kirk. Right away, people started pointing out how the timeline feels a little off. But it wasn't just about who was in the photo. It was the energy. There was no distance, no stiff poses, nothing that looked forced. They appeared relaxed, comfortable, like this wasn't their first time being around each other at all. Before this image resurfaced, nobody was really considering the idea that Erika and Yair had any kind of past connection. Their worlds didn't publicly overlap in a way that made people question it. But now that assumption is gone, because this picture didn't just suggest they knew each other. It made it look like they had been familiar for a while. And once that door opened, people didn't hesitate. Questions started coming fast about how deep this connection really went, and what else from that period hasn't been openly addressed yet. At this point, things started to feel less like coincidence and more like a pattern building up over time. Because this isn't even the first time people have questioned what Erika Kirk may have kept private before her relationship with Charlie. As many remember, Erika went viral not long after Charlie passed, after publicly saying she had never been with anyone before him. And now that statement is being looked at in a completely different way. At first, some people believed her without question, but the internet did what it always does, and things flipped fast. Old videos and photos started popping up everywhere, and within hours, that entire narrative began to fall apart. These weren't vague rumors. These were clear, time-stamped moments showing Erika in different relationships, both casual and serious, years before Charlie ever entered the picture. One of the first names people brought up was Cabot Phillips, someone known to be close to Charlie.
I lived out here. I was here for 5 years. I never dated here because I saw vicariously through my roommate how terrible it was. Somehow getting drinks was the replacement of having coffee and breakfast. I personally would rather have coffee or brunch with someone than going, I don't drink. I find it unproductive, not because I'm holier than whatever. I just don't operate that way. But I always thought it was very strange how she would go to drinks with one guy and then go to dinner with another. So it goes twofold here.
There's a post showing Erika and Cabot together at what looks like a painting session, with a caption suggesting they were taking lessons as a couple. That alone had people raising eyebrows, but that was just the beginning. Then attention shifted to her connection with Tyler J. Massey, and this part made things even more intense. There's actual footage of them auditioning together for The Amazing Race, and their energy wasn't distant or unclear. It was close, natural, and very obvious they had a strong connection. The way they interacted made it clear this wasn't something casual or new. On top of that, there were photos that looked similar to engagement-style pictures, which had many people convinced they were heading towards something serious at the time. By this point, the claim that she had never dated anyone before, Charlie wasn't just being questioned. It was completely falling apart. What made this even more confusing is that none of this information was hidden or difficult to find. It was all out there in plain sight, which led people to ask why she would make a statement so easy to challenge unless there was a reason she didn't want people looking deeper into that timeline. That's where things started to feel more layered. Then came the moment that really got people talking again, a clip from a 2015 rally that suddenly resurfaced. Once again, Erika is there, and standing right next to her is Tyler J. Massey. At first, that part didn't surprise anyone since their connection was already known. But what caught people off guard was a young child standing between them.
You look gorgeous. Are you fixing my... I got a little bacon. Babe, that's deep in there. Give them a cleavage? People want cleavage. Showcase it.
Sex sells, babe.
Sex.
The way all three of them were interacting looked very natural and familiar, almost like a close family moment. And that instantly made viewers pause. Back when that clip first circulated, most people didn't think too much of it because there was never any confirmed information suggesting Erika and Tyler had a child together. So it was brushed off as coincidence or misunderstood context. But now, with that 2019 photo of Erika standing close with Yair Netanyahu gaining attention again, people are starting to revisit that older footage with a completely different perspective. Suddenly, details that once seemed random are being looked at much more closely, and that moment from 2015 doesn't feel as simple as it once did. And even if Tyler Massey isn't the father, some online are now speculating about other possibilities involving Yair, which has only added more fuel to the conversation. This is where things really start to make people look twice at everything. Tyler Bauer keeps showing up in key moments. He's there in that 2015 rally footage, and then again in the 2019 photo with Erika and Yair. Two completely different situations, years apart, but somehow connected by the same person quietly in the background. At that point, people stopped treating these clips like random coincidences. Instead, they started looking at everything like pieces of one bigger story that hadn't been fully connected until now. And if those moments really do link together, then that raises an even bigger question about that young child and where she fits into everything. This is where things really started to escalate fast. When Candace Owens first began speaking about Erika Kirk, a lot of people brushed it off as just another public clash. Candace kept framing it as a form of betrayal, suggesting Erika wasn't exactly who she presented herself to be, especially when it came to her relationship with Charlie. At first, many didn't fully understand what she was pointing toward.
Surface clip from Erika's Megyn Kelly interview where she claims in it the now famous billionaire donor meeting, that same meeting where Charlie was allegedly offered $150 million and a trip to Israel. Bibi himself was on the phone and asked Charlie in one of his first questions, what would TPUSA do if something happened to you? Now, in hindsight, that question sounds less like strategy and more like a warning.
But everything shifted the moment that photo with Yair Netanyahu started spreading everywhere. Instead of clearing things up, Erika pushed back hard. She called Candace a clout chaser, accused her of trying to gain attention from a sensitive situation, and even hinted that she was ready to take action to shut it all down. But through all of that, one detail stood out more than anything. She never directly addressed the main claims, and that silence only made people look even closer. Suddenly, it wasn't just Candace raising questions anymore. Others began connecting pieces themselves and sharing what they were finding. Some people pointed out that Erika, back when she was still known as Erika Franz, appeared to have online interactions with Yair. There were claims that he had engaged with her posts even after she had already started seeing Charlie. And when people noticed that, it made the situation feel even more layered and harder to ignore. Another voice went further, suggesting that Erika may have had a deeper connection with Yair than anyone initially realized. As more people started reviewing these details, it became increasingly difficult for many to overlook the possibility that parts of this story may not have been fully explained yet. Once people began putting these pieces together, the entire situation shifted into something much bigger than just old clips resurfacing. What first looked like random moments from different years suddenly started lining up in a way that felt too precise to ignore. The timeline, the repeated appearances, and the connections between the same names all began to feel like parts of one ongoing story.
Telling me that just within 48 hours before Charlie passed away, his top Jewish donors were pulling funding from him, demanding that Charlie take their name off of the building that they had donated to Turning Point. I guess I can figure out who that is, how many people could have donated the building. And then once Charlie was killed, they said, never mind, put it back on the building. Okay. Charlie himself had alluded to a tremendous
that had been sitting in plain sight the whole time. Now the conversation wasn't just about simple questions anymore. People were digging deeper, comparing dates, rewatching footage, and trying to understand how all these moments could exist without ever being clearly addressed before. Because when you look at everything together, it's not just about who knew who. It's about how close those connections may have been behind the scenes. What really pushed things further was how consistent certain patterns started to look. The same individuals appearing across different years, different settings, and different situations. That's what made people stop and really pay attention, because coincidences can happen. But when the same names keep showing up again and again, it starts to feel like there might be more structure behind it all. And this is where the timeline became the main focus. People started mapping everything out. 2015, 2019, and the period right before Erika's relationship with Charlie became public. The closer they looked, the more questions started building. Were these connections overlapping, or were they separate phases that just happened to look similar? Or could there have been something more continuous happening behind the scenes the whole time? At the center of all this is perception, because for a long time, Erika's public image was presented in a very specific way. Simple, clean, and fully focused on her life with Charlie. But now, with all these past moments being pulled back into the spotlight, that image is being looked at from a completely different angle. And that sudden shift in how people see things is exactly what's driving so much attention right now. People are also starting to question the timing of when certain details became visible. Why are these photos and clips only gaining traction now? Why weren't these connections widely talked about before? Those questions are adding even more intensity to the situation, because it's not just about what happened. It's about when people finally started noticing it. And then there's the reaction side of everything, which has been just as intense. Every response, every statement, and even every moment of silence is being picked apart in real time. Because in situations like this, how someone reacts can shape the entire narrative just as much as the information itself. Some people believe this is all being overanalyzed, that older photos and videos are being connected in ways they were never meant to be. But others are convinced there's a bigger picture forming, one that's only now becoming visible because people are finally looking at everything together instead of in isolation. That split right there is what's keeping this story moving at full speed. On one side, people see coincidence. On the other, people see patterns. And right now, neither side is backing down, which means the conversation just keeps getting louder with every new detail that pops up. Another factor adding serious momentum is how fast information spreads today. One post turns into a discussion. That discussion turns into a full breakdown. And suddenly, thousands of people are analyzing the same few clips from completely different angles. That kind of speed makes it almost impossible for a story like this to stay quiet. What's even more interesting is how older content is now being reinterpreted. Clips that once felt normal or insignificant are suddenly being viewed in a completely different light. Small details that nobody paid attention to before are now turning into major talking points. And that's what happens when the context changes. Everything else starts to look different too. At the same time, people are beginning to question how much of the past was simply never brought into focus, not necessarily hidden, but just never highlighted in a way that made people look closer. Because sometimes, information doesn't have to be removed to go unnoticed. It just needs to be overlooked. But now, nothing is being overlooked anymore. Every detail is being pulled back into the spotlight, every connection is being examined, and every timeline is being questioned. That level of attention changes everything, because once people start looking this closely, it's hard to go back to how things were before. There's also a growing focus on consistency. People are comparing past statements with what's being noticed now, trying to figure out if everything lines up the way it was originally presented. And when things don't match perfectly, that's when even more questions start to build. What really makes this situation stand out is how quickly it escalated. This didn't slowly build over time. It flipped almost overnight. One claim led to another, one discovery led to deeper digging, And suddenly, what looked like a small moment turned into a full-blown conversation that everyone is watching closely. Right now, the biggest factor driving everything is uncertainty. There are still no clear answers to many of the questions being raised, and that lack of clarity is exactly what keeps the conversation alive. When people don't have firm answers, they keep searching, they keep discussing, and they keep circling back to the same topic again and again. What happens next is what everyone is watching closely. Will there be a direct response that clears things up, or will the silence continue and allow even more speculation to grow? Either way, this situation has already reached a point where it's not just going to fade away quietly. At this stage, one thing stands out clearly. This is no longer just about old moments being revisited. It's about how those moments are being interpreted now, in real time, with a completely different level of attention. As long as people keep asking questions and looking for answers, this story isn't slowing down anytime soon. And this is exactly why Candace Owens isn't stepping back from this situation at all. From her perspective, this was never just about Erika Kirk's past relationships. That's only what people see on the surface. The bigger focus she keeps pointing toward is something deeper, something she believes connects to what Charlie Kirk may have been dealing with behind the scenes. Candace has repeatedly suggested that Charlie was under significant pressure from influential pro-Israel figures before he passed. Not vague pressure either. She's pointing to financial influence, strong expectations, and behind-the-scenes demands that she claims were difficult for him to navigate. That's the direction she continues to bring the conversation back to. And this is where things start to feel even more intense. She didn't just speak about it. She shared what she described as direct messages that she says came from Charlie himself. According to her, those messages reflected frustration, financial challenges, and a sense that he was being pushed in directions he may not have fully agreed with. Now, as many people know, Charlie built a major part of his public image around strong support for Israel. So hearing claims that he may have been feeling pressure or even reconsidering parts of that stance is what really caught people's attention. Because if any kind of shift was happening, it raises bigger questions about what may have been going on behind the scenes during that time. And this is where everything starts connecting in a way people can't ignore. Erika is now being linked to Yair Netanyahu, appearing in similar circles, with connections that seem to go back years before her relationship with Charlie even began. That overlap is exactly what has people looking at the entire situation from a completely different angle. Because if even part of what Candace is suggesting turns out to be accurate, then this story moves beyond just relationships, timelines, or old photos resurfacing. It starts to become about pressure, influence, and the kind of environment Charlie may have been navigating during a very important period in his life. When you look at it from that perspective, that 2019 photo doesn't feel like just a random moment anymore. It starts to look like one piece of a much larger puzzle, one that people are still trying to fully figure out. Right now, there are still no clear answers to some of the biggest questions being asked, and that's exactly why this conversation isn't slowing down. People are watching closely, connecting details, and waiting to see what comes next. So, what do you think about all of this? Is it all being overanalyzed, or is there something deeper going on that hasn't been fully explained yet? Drop your thoughts in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you want to see more breakdowns like this. And I'll catch you in the next one.